We're back. We're back. We want to welcome listeners across the Central New York region to the Voice of Eddie Show, also known as the VOE Show. I'm your host, Eddie Martinez, and virtually alongside me is my awesome co-host, Mr. Nick Luis. Say hi, Nick.
Hi, how are you, everyone?
You ready for another show, Nick?
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. Somos bien orgulloso and super excited to be on this journey with you on Pulso Central. Pulso Central is the new radio and online streaming program launched in the Central New York region and Mohawk Valley. The Voice of Eddie Show comes to you once a month and can be streamed online and on demand at pulsocentral.com, and also live on the HD2 FM channels of 91.3 Syracuse, 89.5 Utica, and 90.9 Watertown. You'll also be able to listen soon on apps or your favorite podcast service. Pues, vámonos. Let's go.
Let's do this, Eddie.
So how you been, Nick? What's been going on? And how was spooky season? I mean, was the Coco-themed Halloween costumes a hit?
Well, spooky season has been really cool. October has been Octobering.
All right.
But unfortunately, my Coco-themed outfit was late because of Amazon.
What?
I know. I wanted to be Hector so bad, and I put on the Dia de los
Pero
Muertos
qué
makeup
pasó?
on,
What happened?
it just got delayed, so I just had to come up with something else. So I was a wizard again.
Let me tell you, Amazon, you got to do better. Amazon, that's not right. You know, we had this planned out since the last show. So I mean,
I know, right? And I ordered it early, so but whatever. How about you, Eddie? You've been busy, I'm sure.
Well,
right?
ya tú sabes. You know, it's like it's never a dull moment in my life. It's like and October flew by. So I mean, you know, it's crazy, pues. I had so much going on. I had some work travel. And, you know, as we know, work travel can be exhausting. It's not all what it's cracked up to be. So I'm running around with the kids, of course. More exhausting with the kids. But, you know, at least with the kids, it's worth it, right? Running to soccer games, band concerts, ya tú sabes. Never a dull moment for the Martinez family. And here we are, you know, in the first day of November. You know, we're here doing our new show for the month of November and looking forward to the wonderful fall season. So, but I can't believe the year's almost over. I mean, ya vienes las Navidades, and of course, coquito and pasteles season. Yes.
Yummy.
But we can talk about that soon enough, you know.
Yeah,
and with that, you know, let's get into today's episode. So in November, the November VOE show wanted to dedicate this show first and foremost to celebrate our veterans. Veterans Day is right around the corner, 11/11, by the way. So I have many friends and family who are veterans in my family. My uncles, you know, they served in Vietnam, and God bless, they came back safe and sound from Vietnam, and I hear all the stories all the time from them. How about you, Nick? You have any members in the family? You know any friends and family who are veterans in your world?
Yeah, I do. Actually, my uncle is a veteran. I don't remember which war he served in, but he's definitely a veteran. So every Veterans Day, I always wish him a good Veterans Day. And thank you for his service, you know?
It's very important to recognize our veterans. Without them, you know, our vets, they ensure our freedom, you know? And of course, this month is election time of the year. So, you know, we want to pay homage to our veterans, and we want to celebrate as well on this show our Indigenous community, as it's Indigenous Peoples Month, right? Finally, we'll share a little education and history related to the Thanksgiving holiday, or el Día de Acción de Gracias. So, sound good, Nick?
Sounds amazing. Let's do this.
Pues, vámonos. And with that, we have our first guest ever on Voice of Eddie. We want to give a big, warm VOE welcome to Noemi Figueroa Soulet.
Wepa! Yay! Welcome! We're so excited to have you.
So Noemi is the producer and director of the PBS documentary film The Borinqueneers, which profiles the history of the all Puertorriqueño 65th Infantry Regiment, the only, I repeat, the only Hispanic segregated unit in Army history. The film has aired nationally and has also aired on the Armed Forces Network to troops stationed all over the world overseas. Amongst many awards that it's won, the film won the 2012 Military Channel Award at the GI Film Festival and was selected to be screened in Havana, Cuba at the Festival Internacional del Nuevo Cine Latinoamericano as one of the most important films in the past 100 years of Puerto Rican cinema. For more than 25 years, Noemi has advocated for and conducted numerous presentations about the Borinqueneers at corporations, universities, military facilities, and community organizations. Noemi is also the author of the award-winning book, The Borinqueneers, A Visual History of the 65th Infantry Regiment, containing more than 700 photographs, Nick. I mean, yeah,
Wow, that's
that's
awesome.
amazing,
And
yes.
the unit's history since its creation in 1899.
Mm-hmm.
Originally born in Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico, Noemi was then raised in El Barrio, Spanish Harlem, and is a graduate of New York University. Noemi currently resides in Kissimmee, Florida.
Hola, Noemi. ¿Cómo está? How are you?
Hello.
Hi guys, thank you for inviting me. I love being first.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're first, you're setting a high bar, right? It's our pleasure.
Yes.
It's our pleasure. And
Hmm.
when I told Nick about this, I was like, this is just perfect timing. Like God puts things in your way, and it's like the month of November and Veterans Day. And I was like, let's call Noemi. Let's have Noemi on here. So we're ecstatic to have you on with us to share about the Borinqueneers. Our mission on Puso Central is to educate all of Central New York and the Latino community. And what better way to educate on our history this month than to celebrate our veterans and the story that needs to be told over and over again of those who've served as the Borinqueneers. Right, Nick?
Yes, and this is so amazing and fascinating, especially for our younger generations to learn about, for real.
Yeah. I want my kids and their kids to learn about them. I mean, we have to pass on history. So, Noemi, give us a little synopsis, but I'm really, really curious because this has surely been a journey for you personally, as well as a synopsis of the Borinqueneers. Tell us why did you get involved in telling the Borinqueneers story? Like, why did you make this part of your mission, and what made you say this story needs to be told? And further, you made it into a documentary film that will live on forever. So enlighten us. Tell us the synopsis of the Borinqueneers and tell us your life journey with them.
All right, well, the important thing you guys need to know is I was born in Puerto Rico, but I was raised in New York, and I had never heard of the 65th.
Wow.
I was a professional actress for 17 years in New York City doing theater and commercial work and so forth. And when I would go see movies, I tended to look for the Latino faces.
Uh-huh.
And around that
Mm.
time, Saving Private Ryan had come out, but they didn't have any Latinos in Saving Private Ryan. And there was a documentary film about the Tuskegee Airmen. And that's when the thought came up where I said, I know Latinos in general, but Puerto Ricans specifically, have a long legacy of military service. I have two uncles that served in Vietnam as well.
Look at that.
My father served in the Korean War, but I didn't grow up with him, and he did not see combat. So I said to myself, Puerto Rico has a unique situation because it was a colony. It is still a
That's
colony as a
right.
commonwealth,
Yeah,
a
for
defense
sure.
colony. But during wartime, they are subjected to the draft. And that was the case for World War I, World War II, and Korea. So I said that must have been very difficult for them being a community of an island with another culture, another language, then being drafted by an army of another language, another culture, being sent to Korea, particularly Korea or during World War II was Europe, and that they couldn't vote for the commander in chief that sends them to war. And I said, I don't think anyone had explored that in a film, in a visual format before. So I just started doing research, and and my working title at the time was The Puerto Rican Soldier. I
Mm.
literally bumped into the story of the 65th, and it was in the Bronx. It was at a library. It was a Spanish book that mentioned, it was all about the 65th anecdotes from World War II and part of Korea. And when I did discover the very fascinating story of the 65th, I said, well, trying to encompass Puerto Rican military service in all wars is not one film. That's a mini series. So let me just focus on telling the story of the 65th in this one program. And but had I known back then, this was 1998, 1999, that it was going to take me 9 years. Let
Mm-hmm.
me let me repeat that. 9 years, longer than the Korean
Mm.
War, which was 3 years, to raise the money to finish that film. I don't know that I would have gotten into this project. I think it was
Mm.
crazy, right? And I call it my midlife crisis. But once I started interviewing the veterans and bonding with them, and they were relying on me to tell the story, I said, this has to be told, because also a very important part of, not only did they make their mark as fierce warriors, particularly in Korea, where it was the first time they were being used extensively in combat, because they really didn't see a lot of combat in World War One and World War Two. It was just skirmishes, and they were just not assigned to offensive missions, but patrols and stuff like that. But in Korea, they saw a
Mm.
lot of combat. Well, at that point, not only General Douglas MacArthur, praised them and said they're writing a brilliant record of achievement in battle, and I wish I had many more like them. But then, in addition, in the latter part of the war, some soldiers of the 65th were involved in one of the largest mass court-martials of the Korean War, where almost 100 men were court-martialed for refusing to return to a hill which they considered was like a suicide mission, and it was. So right
Mm.
there, there's a lot of drama in that story, isn't there? And there's
Yeah.
patriotism and heroism, and loss, because many of them, they knew each other. Many of them were from the same town, they're all together, but they were very proud of their service. And since then, I've continued to interview these veterans, and many of them volunteered. It wasn't, they didn't even wait to be drafted, they volunteered. And they're very proud of their service. So I don't regret it. I don't regret it, but it was a big journey, definitely a life-changing journey. But I'm very proud of the film and everybody that helped me along the way, because I had my co-producer was Raquel Ortiz, and I had some other, the editor Miguel Picker, who was Chilean. He did a fantastic job. So sometimes some hard work and sacrifice is worth it, because no
Right.
one had documented the story of the 65th up to this point in a visual format.
Right. And that's the first again. So look at you, first for everything. I love
Amazing.
it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's like my mind is like blowing up right now, just with so much information and history. But I do have a question. How were the families of the Borinqueneers affected? And were they subsequently honored with any recognition for their family's service as the Borinqueneers? Many of whom may not have been here to see the story to be told in a documentary format. Have
Well,
anything to
this is
share
my
with us?
25th year of dealing with the subject matter of the 65th. So there are different things that have happened. A lot of,
25
Mm,
years.
I would
That's a
say that
quarter
the
of a
that's a
initial
century.
lot.
thing that happened was for them getting recognized. I remember when the film came out on PBS, and one
Mhm.
veteran wrote me a letter from Florida saying that he had gone to a Red Lobster with his family, a restaurant, and he was wearing his 65th Infantry Regiment Borinqueneers hat, right? And
Uh-huh.
the cashier looked at the hat and said, "Oh, you were one of the Borinqueneers." There, by then, the film was being shown nationally on PBS,
Right.
and many people were seeing it. And he said, "Yes." And she says, "Well, I can't charge you. You're one of our heroes." And he wrote me a letter telling me how proud he was that they were treating him like a big celebrity. So that was awesome that they were getting any kind of recognition.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
the long-term thing, of course, is since then, there have been a lot of monuments, streets have been named after them in different cities, highways,
Wow.
parks. There's a park in Connecticut, 65th Infantry Park. There's Spanish Harlem has Borinqueneers Way. San Antonio has a highway. There's Chicago has housing building, named after them. Fort Buchanan, they renamed it Borinqueneers, Gate, and so
Wow.
forth. Here in Kissimmee, there's a park and there's a post office named after them. And then the biggest
Wow.
prize of all, the biggest,
Uh-huh.
is the one that I call the icing on the cake. Because the least how was I going to know that as a result of the exposure that the film gave the Borinqueneers, there was a grassroots campaign to get them the Congressional Gold Medal, which is
Dale, there you go.
Wow.
Wepa.
and in
That's so awesome.
2014, after a grassroots campaign that involved Vietnam veterans and different organizations. Frank Medina from Florida, he was the one that spearheaded it, but he had a lot of individuals and organizations helping him along the way. That it was approved, and in 2016, the medal, a beautiful medal that the U.S. Mint sells, was inaugurated at Emancipation Hall, and over 200 veterans attended and were given individual medals, not from Congress, because Congress only apportioned money for one gold medal, but the U.S. Mint website sells replica medals. And thanks to donations, corporate donations, and private donations, these replicas were purchased, and there were ceremonies in Washington. There was a big ceremony I also attended in the El Morro in Puerto Rico. The Puerto Rico National Guard purchased 1,000 medals. And in Pennsylvania, I did one in New York before I moved to Florida. And, different communities throughout, where there are large Puerto Rican populations here in Florida, they had one here in Orlando. And to me, that is the most important one, because that is an honor that the veterans get, and they get to enjoy that. You know what I mean?
That gave me
Yeah, no, that
chills.
sounds
I mean,
right. Me
Noemi,
too. I have goosebumps.
by you spending these 9 years, you just created a legacy that's it's
You did.
priceless. It's priceless, and I'm just like humbled to have you on the air. Like you,
Yeah, same here.
when I heard about your work, and we've known each other for almost 10 years now, I just felt like, my goodness, like she's done so much for our community to get us the recognition that our Boricuas deserve, and our military veterans deserve, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm just like so touched
Yeah.
by
And I
this
just met you
story.
today and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I'm so touched by this story. It's like
Yeah.
just keeping us on track. I want to jump to, you mentioned like Saving Private Ryan and all these films that Hollywood, has done in the past about wars, about heroes. Is there? Do you ever wonder? It makes me wonder why a feature film has not been done on the Borinqueneers, like from the personal view of one of the soldiers as they went through the tribunal, the Korean War. I mean, so many feature films have done a backdrop of the military and the many wars fought. I mean, Tyler Perry just recently released, 6 AAA, which is a World War II story of the war's only women's Army Corps unit. Do you think a feature film should be done on the Borinqueneers? Have you ever been approached to help develop one?
I think the story of the 65th has a lot of drama and heroism, and and we as Latinos, we need, that's one of the things that I was complaining about as an actress. In my time, there were no big very few Latino stars. They don't make enough films with Latino subject matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And over the
facts.
years, I had been approached many, many times by different people, especially when the film came out. There was a lot of interest. But, nothing came of it. They didn't have the right connections or influence or the money, or I don't know, nothing ever came through. That doesn't mean that it cannot happen.
That's right.
And if I knew of something, it does not mean that I could speak about it.
That's right.
But keep in mind that it could happen. And when it does, and I can speak about it, you'll be the first to know.
Yay. Okay, sounds good.
I'm
Deal.
excited. Like,
How's that? Did I plant a seed there or what?
You did. You definitely did.
you got me like curious now. Like I'm gonna start doing some research. Pero,
But you know something? I will believe it when I see it. Because
absolutely.
for years, even for my film, when I was doing my film, there were people saying, oh, somebody else is doing a documentary film on the Borinqueneers. And I would say, oh my God, I've spent 6 years and somebody's going to beat me to it. And then I said, I'm going to put blinders on and I'm just going to, ignore it. I'm just going to keep doing. And nobody did ever finish it but me. So
Yes, as you should.
if I had listened to it and quit, there would not have been a documentary film. So
That's
For
right.
sure.
That's right. You just
Yeah.
got to press forward. Well, I'm gonna make some calls and just this. We're not done with this conversation yet. Trust me, because I I have a way of making things like down the road. They always say it's not about now, it's about later. And people may not think we were ready for it 5, 10 years ago, but, you know, down the road, I think they're going to be ready for something like this because
It would be awesome.
it's a
It would
wonderful
be,
Yeah.
story. It's
and every Latino
historical.
actor in Hollywood would want to be on board.
Absolutely.
Facts.
Nick, you and I got some work to do on this.
We do. We do.
But we're on time now, so I just want to again, Noemi, we want to thank you again for joining us and telling
Mhm.
us,
Thank
Luck
your
you.
in the show. I wish you a lot of success.
yes, and absolutely,
Yes.
this is something that we will come back and revisit with you at some point in time. We want to thank you for being our first guest on the show. You will forever be VOE Familia, and we will talk to you soon. I'm sure we will.
Que
Yes.
vivan los Borinqueneers and happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
Yes. Happy
Cuídase.
Veterans Day.
Take
Bye.
Thank
care.
you.
For all the listeners out there, you can join Noemi's special Facebook Live streaming event to pay tribute to our Borinqueneer veterans on Friday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Noemi will be profiling a few Borinqueneers who are no longer with us that made an impact on her work for the 65th Regiment for the past 25 years. Nick, she spent 25 years of her life on this.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a long
that's
time,
that's
but
a quarter
worth
of a
it though.
century, yeah. So check it out
Hmm.
live on Facebook. Find the event listed at www.facebook.com Borinqueneers Doc Film, and you'll see the event there. Just click on it and join it. Again, it's on November 8th at 8 p.m. And to learn more about the Borinqueneers, visit borinqueneers.com, where you can read up more, purchase the film, check out the book, and other Borinqueneer merchandise, So
Hmm.
rep our Borinqueneers, right, Nick?
Yes. Wrap it up.
That's right. So we're gonna move on to the rest of our program with Indigenous Peoples Month and what has become to known as the tradition of Thanksgiving. So
Okay.
Nick, can you share some education with our listeners about Indigenous Peoples Month?
Yeah, I got you right now. So, Indigenous People Month. Yes, it's a really powerful month in November. National Native American Heritage Month, also known as American Indian and Alaska Native Heritage Month, is celebrated in November to recognize the history, culture, and contributions of Indigenous people. While Native American Heritage Day celebrates ancestors, Indigenous Peoples Day celebrates the over 571 distinct Native people who exist today in the modern U.S. Those are two very different things.
Wow.
The word indigenous often refers to the original caretakers of the land before colonization.
Of course. And they were very advanced. You remember, Nick, like such as science, medicine. We
Hmm.
talked a little bit about this on our last episode about the indigenous civilizations prior to colonization, right?
Yes, we did. We did. With more than 370 million indigenous people spread over 70 countries worldwide, we want to recognize the history, sufferings, and contributions of the indigenous peoples in the month of November.
That's right.
So, for more information, you can check out www.bia.gov/NNAHM.
That's right. Our indigenous people deserve the recognition. And it's well timed. I mean, it's a good segue into our conversation about the origin of Thanksgiving. Nick, how did Thanksgiving come about? Spread some more knowledge to our community.
Ah, I got you right now. So, the history of Thanksgiving. In 1621, the Plymouth colonists from England and the Native American Wampanoag people shared an autumn harvest feast that is acknowledged as one of the first Thanksgiving celebrations in the colonies. For more than 2 centuries, days of Thanksgiving were celebrated by individual colonies and states. While some Native Americans have chosen to reject the Thanksgiving holiday entirely, many embrace the positive messages of the day and choose to put aside thoughts about the complex history. This is because the idea of giving thanks is central to Native heritage and culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, the formation of Thanksgiving as an official United States holiday did not begin until November 1863 during the Civil War. President Abraham Lincoln established the holiday to improve relations between northern and southern states, as well as with tribal nations. Just a year prior, after the Dakota War of 1862, President Lincoln had ordered 38 Dakota men to die from hanging, and he felt that Thanksgiving offered an opportunity to bridge hard feelings amongst natives and the federal government. A lot of people don't acknowledge it as a Thanksgiving. They say, I'm going to get together with family and it's going to be about sharing the meal. But we're not going to acknowledge the Mayflower and the Pilgrims because it's holding up this false moment of friendship and completely disregards the genocide, mass land theft, and brutally Native people's experience.
That's
Quote,
right.
Dr. Mosteller said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
amazing history. And again, this brings us back to what we shared last month about the indigenous civilizations of Mexico and the Caribbean being wiped out by Spaniards and disease. I mean, one piece of history related to Thanksgiving that I always found interesting was the origin of the Thanksgiving turkey. Nick, did you know that the domesticated turkey was found to have originated from Mexico?
No.
Yeah,
What?
indigenous people domesticated turkeys 2,000 years ago. The Mayans of southern Mexico were likely the first to domesticate the turkeys and traded them to Spaniards. The turkey then made its way all the way back to colonial America via the European settlers. So the turkey we know and share in a traditional Thanksgiving meal has its roots in Mexico. Amazing and ironic, huh? And I'll
Facts.
leave it at that. If you know, you know. Thank you, Mexico. Thank you for
Thank
domesticating
you.
our turkey that we're going to have on our table in a few weeks.
Yes.
And I'm I'm looking forward to some turkey. I'm looking forward to some arroz con gandules, some pernil.
Mm,
Oh man.
mm,
But we need to stop
mhm.
now. And with that, Nick, with that, we wrapping up the November Voice of Eddie show on Pozo Central. That's
Yes.
right. Oh yeah, this was
So
great, Nick.
awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
are you looking forward to the holidays?
I'm so looking forward to the holidays.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Wepa. So we'll be back next month with a new show, but always want to leave you with some positivity. Always
Hmm.
positive vibes, right, Nick?
Yes, absolutely. Always. So, with that, this month's quote is from our famous artist, actress that we all know and love. She's someone that I consider an abuelita. She's known for her breakthrough performance in the West Side Story and
Ah.
also for being an EGOT awardee, winning
Mm-hmm.
an Emmy,
Mm-hmm.
Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. Rita Moreno.
Wepa. Everybody loves
Yeah.
Rita.
Right. So the quote is, you always have to be able to get up, dust yourself off, and move forward.
Uh-huh.
Boom.
Uh-huh. Echa pa'lante, as we say. I
Right,
totally agree.
exactly.
I totally agree. And
Hmm.
that's why we love Rita. So
Hmm.
inspiring, so inspiring. Wes, we gotta go, Nick. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
we do.
goodnight. You gonna say goodnight, Nick?
Good night.
That's right. And with that, we'll see you guys next month.
All right.
This is Voice of Eddie.
Bye, everyone.
That's Mr. Nick Luis.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you next time.